Today's question comes from a client who wants to know which is best for weight loss, weight training or cardio? The answer is both. Stick around for this video because I'm going to spell out the advantages of each of the different styles of training for you. But first, if you'd like more information on becoming a remote coaching client, click on the link in the bio or the comments wherever you're watching or listening to this, and visit direct.me/reshape and choose the Become a Client option. That gives you a 90-day training program that includes weight training and cardio, as well as nutrition, supplementation protocol, and group community support, and so much more for the low, low price of only $1 a day. Okay, weight training, cardio, the epic battle. It's not necessary to choose sides. You can actually do both of those, and I recommend that you do both of those. So there are a couple of principles here I'm going to cover, but I want to spell out exactly why you want to do weight training and why you want to do cardio first. It doesn't make sense. Well, let me say this much. The number one goal that people have when they join the gym or they're in initial consultation, people say that they want to lose weight and tone up. That's the number one answer that I hear. So my brain translates that into a goal. What you actually want to do is lose body fat while maintaining or increasing muscle. Weight loss is not necessarily the goal per se. When you lose body fat, your body weight will go down, but you have to keep in mind that all weight gain is not a terrible thing and all weight loss is not a wonderful thing. If you lose muscle, if you sacrifice muscle in order to lose weight, that's going to backfire in the long run and you're not going to be able to sustain those results. I've seen it happen very frequently. That's why I give people the starting metric of about 1% of your current body weight per week as the maximum amount of weight that you should lose in order to prevent losing muscle. So it doesn't make sense to a lot of people to lift weight to lose weight. Women especially have this idea that lifting weight will cause you to get bulky. I've heard that a lot. Also, on the opposite end of that, guys tend to say they don't want to do cardio because they think that's going to cause them to lose muscle. So those are the arguments. Neither one of those is valid. But back to what I was saying, to lose weight or to lose body fat while maintaining muscle specifically, the main value of the weight training or strength training is that it sends a signal to your body that the muscle is important to hold on to. When you start increasing your activity through exercise and you start reducing your energy intake or your calorie intake by reducing fat and carbohydrates, that is threatening to your body. It senses as a shortage of energy in the environment and your body will take some protective measures to prevent you from starving to death. That's the whole reason why you store body fat in the first place, is to have some energy available when there's no food around. So one of the best ways for your body to do that is to sacrifice muscle, because muscle demands a lot of energy. And if there's less energy coming in, that's a conservation method that your body can do. So in order to send a signal to your body that this muscle is important to hold on to, you do the weight training. That way your body feels like this is necessary. It's going to be much less likely to catabolize that muscle tissue. Also, that's where the whole toning up thing comes in. If you want to tone your body, that means you're going to build muscle. You may not want to increase, by a huge amount, but the more muscle you have, the less body fat you have, the more lean and toned your body is going to look. That's a big part of the Fast Track program. So weight loss. So I really said that. Okay, so let's see. All right, so here's a couple of principles. Sorry, I got off track a little bit with my notes here. We want to make sure, first of all, that you're doing your exercise in the correct order. So a couple different ways that you can structure your workout. You can do your cardio and your weight training in separate sessions, or you can combine them in a single session. I understand not everybody has the luxury of going to the gym twice a day, but honestly, I think that's the ideal scenario, would be that you would do your cardio, which is really more for directly burning fat, provided it's at the correct intensity, which I'm going to give you in just a minute here. You would do that in a semi-fasted state. So for most people, that's going to be in the morning when they wake up. If you're a night worker, that may be in the evening, but you get the point. Having a low blood sugar level is going to help you to prioritize stored body fat, which is the whole goal of cardio in the first place. So cardio is any sustained activity like walking, running, rowing, swimming, that sort of thing, where you're in constant motion. And the goal is to increase the heart rate, which is also going to improve your cardiovascular health. That's kind of a side benefit. When you do this type of activity, you have to be able to get more blood and oxygen to the working muscles. So that's where the benefits come in. It increases your heart and lungs ability to deliver blood, oxygen, and other nutrients to those working muscles. So a sustained heart rate of something around 180 minus your age, that's a target number of beats per minute for your heart rate. So somebody is 40 years old, that's a heart rate of maximum of about 140. Now, a lot of people have the idea that it's all no pain, no gain, and that high intensity exercise is required. That's not necessarily the case, which should be a relief to a lot of people, because that is one thing that dissuades a lot of people from starting an exercise program, is they think it has to be no pain, no gain, otherwise they're not going to get results, which is absolutely not true. I've seen a lot of very well-intentioned people who are exerting themselves, not realizing that the high intensity is not necessary. What can happen in that scenario is it takes you out of the fat burning zone. So that 180 minus your age is about 60% of your maximum heart rate. That's to keep you in a fat burning state. We can derive energy from stored body fat up to a certain level of intensity. Once we exceed that level, the body has to get the energy from somewhere. It's not able to break down oxygen fast enough to supply that energy need. It starts going for glucose or carbohydrate, which is stored in the muscles in the form of glycogen, or if you've eaten carbohydrate, it'll be in your bloodstream. But the idea is the same. You're just basically burning sugar rather than burning fat. A couple of negative effects that can come from that. First of all, you might end up breaking down muscle tissue for energy if there's not enough glucose or carbohydrate available, which we don't want. And then the other outcome is that can cause you to be hungrier after the workout, specifically hungry for glucose or carbohydrate, which is a cycle that we're trying to break if the goal is to lose maximum body fat. Glucose or carbohydrate is your body's fuel for your high intensity effort outcome. We want to use that for weight training so that you can apply the proper amount of intensity to your weight training, which leads me to my next point. The order is important. Like I said, separate sessions would be ideal. Cardio in a fasted state, weight training after you've eaten a few meals, maybe later in the day, that would be the best outcome. If you're going to combine these into one session, do your weight training first and do your cardio next. A lot of people have the idea that they should use cardio to sort of warm up. And then if they do the weight training afterward, it's just kind of an afterthought. I'm at the gym, I might as well lift some weights while I'm here, sort of thing. And you end up wasting your fuel, wasting your glycogen on cardio. If you're not trying to perform at a higher level, so like if you're not a sprinter or something like that, where you're trying to run faster during your cardio, it's not necessary. So you're wasting your fuel on that. That's depleting that glycogen, which you could be using to power your weight training. So now you got a substandard weight training as well. Do it the other way around. Prioritize your weight training when you have the most energy. That's going to help you to build or maintain the most muscle that you possibly can. And it's also going to deplete your glycogen. All right, now building that muscle is also going to help you to burn more calories around the clock. Keep that in mind. That's going to raise your basal metabolic rate, which is the number one best thing you can do for body composition. So you're going to deplete your glycogen. That's going to put you in more of a fat burning state, almost in that semi-fasted kind of state, like you would be if you had done your cardio first thing in the morning, like I recommended earlier. So if you do have to do them together, do the weight training first, follow up with the cardio. Now you're going to be burning more body fat with your cardio. All right. So intensity of training. I talked about intensity with cardio. When it comes to intensity with weight training, The way I like to phrase this is intensity and frequency are interchangeable. So the more often you're going to train, the lower the intensity is going to be necessarily, and vice versa. The more intensely you want to train, you're not going to be able to train as frequently. So a couple of different ways of approaching this. I like a minimum of 30 minutes a day of training, a maximum of 60 minutes a day. As a beginner, that could be alternating days of weight training and cardio, 30 minutes one day, 30 minutes the next, alternating between those two types of training. If you want to increase that later on down the line, go ahead and up it by adding cardio every day, including your weight training days. So training 30 minutes 3 times a week with weight training and a total of 6 sessions per week of cardio. Later on, if you want to up that game a little bit more, you can do 30 minutes of weight training 6 days a week, 30 minutes of cardio 6 days a week, in either of the 2 patterns that I recommended earlier. The more often you train, the less intensely. And if you're only able to do weights, 2 or 3 times a week, you really have to be diligent about increasing the intensity level. Otherwise, you're not going to get a benefit from it. But all of this goes back to habits. So I like daily training of some type because it allows you to make a daily habit out of it, and it just becomes something automatic that you don't have to think about. If you're only going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, that's more than half the time you're not working out. You're not really building that habit. It's a kind of a hit or miss proposition. And that's where I was a few years ago when I was obese, weighing over 250 pounds. I was working out, usually about 3 times a week, but if I missed a session, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't have a real goal or deadline in mind, so I was just kind of spinning my wheels and not happy with where I was, but not unhappy enough to do something about it. So like a lot of people, something had to change. That thing was getting a report from my doctor saying that I had high blood pressure, which I did not want to have. So if you have an actual goal and a deadline and a reason, here's a framework that you can use to get that result. And that intensity and frequency are a big part of that. The duration of the training, that's another factor. How long of a session are we talking about? With cardio, you want at least 30 minutes. I usually go for a metric of about 2 miles. I do treadmill on an incline at a speed of about 3.5 miles per hour. That takes about 30 to 35 minutes to go 2 miles. So I use the distance to guide that. Any metric or number that's meaningful to you that you want to track, number of miles, number of laps, number of minutes, etc., is fine. But to be considered a session, it needs to be at least 20 minutes, preferably 30 minutes. So I would block out 30 minutes for cardio. Same thing with weight training, at least 30 minutes. And with any type of training, but with weight training in particular, more is not always better. So thinking that you should or that you have to train for an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours, a lot of people don't have that much time in their day. You could get a benefit with as little as 5 or 10 minutes, little mini sessions here and there. But to really tax the muscle, I would say 30 minutes is kind of a minimum time frame. And like I said, you could do that 3 to 6 times a week. All right. And then the other factor is we're looking at total volume, which really dictates the duration of the session. I like to train for weight training somewhere between 15 and 18 sets, depending total for the whole workout, depending on which track you're on. I'm not going to spell it all out in clear detail, but again, if you do want to become a remote coaching client, I have the exact protocols that are available. I've spent about 9 months or so customizing an app to run my programs, nutrition protocols, supplement protocols, and it's all there. Depends on how you want to split the body up or divide it into various muscle groups, but something like up to 3 body parts per session, 2 exercises each for a total of 3 sets of each. That's 18 sets total. That is sufficient to tax the muscle, causing you to have to recover over the next 24 to 48 hours. And again, being able to hold on to your muscle tissue and not lose that while you're trying to lose the weight. I hope this helps. If you do have questions, you can put those in the comments below, and I'll be back soon with another Q&A video like this. Until next time, stay strong and enjoy the journey.